Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. This reading vlog is extra special because it's a challenge-oriented reading vlog. That's right, for the next 48 hours, we're gonna see how much I'm gonna be able to read in a little bit of a cozy 48-hour readathon. I leave in a few days for a business trip, which feels so weird to say because I just don't feel like someone who goes on business trips. But anyway, make myself ignore any social anxiety I may have. I've decided let's do a little bit of a cozy readathon and I'm so pumped about my TBR, so let's just go through it. So the TBR naturally is quite ambitious. First up, we have The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. I felt like this would be a quick and fun cozy read, a little cozy fantasy with some romance, small town setting, and a jam shop apparently. I just feel like this is gonna be super engaging and something to sort of take my mind off. Next up, I have Amari and the Despicable Wonders. This is book 3 to this series by B.B. Alston. I love this middle grade series so much. It's imaginative, it's adventurous, it's full of magic, the concept, the world. It's just truly such a delight. So I was so excited to have book 3 in my hands. It came out in August. And lastly, you might have seen this book before in a TBR. I want to start The God of the Woods because I want this to be my plane read. And I feel like I'm always more successful reading on planes when I have started a book, like going in. So this here is my plan. Unrelated but related, speaking of plane reads, I feel like I'm someone who like doesn't read super well on planes. I feel like sometimes I do, but often I'm like distracted by just all the movies, the TV show, and the people. I don't know, it's super weird because I feel like so many people love reading on planes and it's like very hit or miss for me, but I'm trying to read a lot this time around because I'm going solo, so I feel like it'll be a good opportunity to read. I'm crossing my fingers and like trying to set myself up for success. The God of the Woods is like a thriller leaning story. Thrillers I feel like are like faster reads in general. I'm gonna bring so many books if I'm being honest. My Kindle is gonna be full, but again, I'm rambling. In other news, it's lunchtime and we're making turkey sandwiches because those are always so scrumptious. I baked up some bacon as well. Oh, it's now time to assemble. 10 out of 10, I cannot wait. I've started putting hot honey on my sandwiches and it's so good. All right, those are all of my ingredients. I just gotta toast my bread. Now, doesn't this look so scrumptious? And on the side, I think we either have like yogurt or an apple. But I want to eat this first while it's hot. Ho, ho, ho! Why did I just sound like Santa? I brewed myself a cup of tea. Note my pumpkin tea mug. I accidentally made tea in a non-hot water grade cute glass and it exploded everywhere in my kitchen. So I'm trying to be very careful about my tea glassware. So we're back to this adorable mug. I'm also about to sit down and start my first book of this 48-hour readathon. I've opted for The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. One, because I'm so in the mood for something cozy and a little bit romantic. I've heard such good things about this and I feel like I'm just gonna be able to read it quickly. I'm also just like wanting something that will just like de-stress me a bit. So one of my favorite parts about cozy fantasy is like they're like Hallmark films that can still have like emotional character arcs and elements of stakes, but at the same time, like, you know, going in that everything is going to be okay. And sometimes that feeling just is so reassuring if you're feeling like a little stressed, because I just know that this is like a safe space for me, you know? Not that I don't think Joe Abercrombie can be a safe space, but just a different space. Actually, no, he's not a safe space. He's a totally different type of space. But anyway, I am going to sit read this now and I'm so excited about it. Hi guys, I have read a quick 60 pages of The Spellshop and I am happy to report this book is definitely delivering, so far at least, what I was hoping. It's also pulled me in right away. It has a great balance of humor and heart and stories so far. But to take a step back, follows our main character, Kiella, and she is a librarian. And Kiella is very, very, very shy. In fact, she would love to never have to really interact with anyone ever. And as she's worked as a librarian in this great library for most of her adulthood, she's actually been able to get by with this perspective of not having to chat with people quite easily. At the beginning of this book, though, things are rather tumultuous because there's actually a revolution rocking the city, and the library itself is sort of under attack unexpectedly, resulting in our main character, Kiela, to have to flee in the night with just some crates of books and her library assistant, who happens to be a magical plant that talks, and she flees back to her home island. She basically was born on this really remote small island, grew up here with her parents until about the age of 9, and then she actually moved to the city. So she hasn't been back to this island for a very long time, but she moves back into her old family home and quickly just trying to like settle in, process one, what happened to her in the city, two, make a new place for herself in this location, and three, have to deal with her very friendly, very handsome neighbor that doesn't understand that she actually doesn't like to talk to people at all. And so far the story has just been really, really charming. It's very much about second chances, found family, romance. I love the small town setting. It's giving fantastical Hallmark, because this book definitely has some fantastical elements. One, there is magic, like there's spell books and just things going on in terms of people being able to use magic to impact weather and growing things, that type of stuff. Two, there's like magical creatures. For example, on this small island, they have mare horses, which is like a big part of their economy, which is cool. And there's just like magical things. Like obviously we have this magical talking plant named Kaz, who's hilarious. I love Kiela and this plant's like dynamic. They are so funny and so different. So their back and forth is hilarious, and I just really, really enjoy it. And there's just like fun magical things that just sort of are part of the book. Like people have magical hair, and just it adds a nice flair to the setting. Kiela immediately is a character that you very much like and are rooting for. She is an orphan. She obviously has a very emotional past. She's also dealing with the fact that she had to literally flee her previous home and job, so that's obviously something that she's trying to process. And now she's in a new environment, having to tackle lots of new things, which can obviously be overwhelming. It just has like a great tone, a great voice. The writing style is engaging. It really pulls you in. Has a lot of tropes that I personally enjoy, and I think the package of everything is quite successful so far, and I'm just having a really nice time with it. I read the first little bit really quickly, and I'm just gonna keep on going. Tonight, I think I'm gonna fully lean into like my cozy feels. I think I'm gonna make an emergency box of mac and cheese because I don't feel like cooking, and just hang out and do obviously more reading. So I'm gonna do more reading now. It's me. I have read 170 pages of this book. This book reads so fast. It's so cute, and I just am like eating it up. I'm eating it up like the jam being made in this story. So obviously we have Kyla, new place, trying to set down roots. She's hesitant to let people close to her, and yet this community is beginning to win her over, and seeing that, chef's kiss. Obviously we have cutie hot neighbor Lauren, I think his name is Larran. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's the best. He's hunky and helpful and funny and sweet, cares about her boundaries, a little overexcitable, fantastic. Throw in the talking plant Kaz into the mix, a hilarious trifecta of things happening. And the slow burn of the romance is also cute. I imagine this book is going to be low to no spice, and it's really just about the relationship, the endearing like pull of the heartstrings, the conversations, and I'm eating it up. It's so much fun. The main aspect of this plot is obviously our main character was looking for like some sort of source of employment here. But coming back to this island, she learned that because magic has been unbalanced for a while, because the previous emperor kind of hoarded magic, it's created an environment on this island that's rather untenable. Plants are dying, herds are getting smaller, and she has all these magical books that she stole from the library. So she's trying to figure out a way that she can distribute this magic without getting in trouble by the government. So she's like opened a jam shop that's really laundering magic in some way. Like it needs to be a profitable business that is about jam, which she's selling, but she's also trying to like slyly distribute magic to the community to sort of help out too, which I think is such a funny concept. But yeah, I've read about half of this book so quickly, basically in one sitting. It just reads so easily, and it's definitely exactly what I was hoping in terms of a vibe, in terms of how it's capturing my attention. It's cute and sweet. I really can't complain. I really can't complain at all. Alrighty, so plan of action tonight is an emergency box of deluxe Annie's mac and cheese, but I'm gonna doctor it up. I'm gonna do a little bit of, well, I'm gonna cook it, add in the cheese sauce, but I'm also gonna mix in, I have cheddar and Colby Jack. Mozz? Do you put mozzarella? Maybe. I have it. Some other seasonings. I'm also gonna roast it in the oven. I couldn't be more excited. A little more effort with exceptional payoff. Bon appetit. Noodles are done and it's now time to make my concoction. Noodles, the fake cheese sauce, splash of milk, a little bit of Dijon, garlic powder, a bit of salt. I have mozzarella, so I'm just gonna use some of this. No one can stop me. Plus it's really stringy. Then cheddar, Colby, mix. Bring you over here. So I've now got my container, heavy, just cheesy mixture into. Obviously I'm gonna top with more cheese. I'm also gonna top with some panko because I'm one of those weirdos who likes breadcrumbs on mac and cheese sometimes. A little more garlic powder. Isn't she beautiful? I know. Stunning work. Finishing up Dream Academy. This is such an interesting documentary on Netflix. I'm obsessed. Alrighty, I've pulled myself away from watching TV because we're getting back to the cozy reading marathon. As I've mentioned, already read 170 pages so quick. I'm gonna try to see how far I can get tonight. I think I should have no problem finishing this by tomorrow. Hoping to read about 100 or so pages now before I inevitably fall asleep. I could stay up watching TV so late, but when it becomes nighttime now when I read, sometimes I can stay up. I can fight it, but it doesn't even matter what time it is. Like once I start reading when it's nighttime, I'm just immediately asleep. Anyway. Good morning. I was able to read 100 pages last night and this book is getting so cute. Now I'm going to sit down this morning with my cup of coffee and hopefully finish this bad boy up. So let's get to it. Hi everyone. I'm so happy to report I finished my first book for my 48-hour readathon vlog. So we're definitely on track. A book a day would definitely be where I would want to be. I will say the Spellshop was such an easy read. Was it the most shocking page turner thriller fantasy novel I've ever read? Obviously not. That's not the goal of this novel, but I felt like it had a nice balance of community, humor, heart, romance, second chances. It also had like a little bit of a plot line that was like, uh-oh, what's going to happen? But at no point was it like completely taking over the core of the story. I also feel like ultimately it still fit in with the overall cozy ambiance that the story was trying to achieve. So with that, I was just having a great time with Kiela, Lauren, Kaz, this island, the mare horses. Like I wanted to move in. The cinnamon rolls, the sweetness that was sort of in this community. Message of you can choose your family or find family around you through friends and connection and community. It also really made me want to make jam. It was just like a really charming read. Like it set out to be a charming read and it was in fact a charming read. And it really it was exactly what I was hoping for in terms of picking it up. I read it so fast. It was like every time I picked it up, I would just breeze through 100 pages. And I also feel like cozy fantasy really does a thing where they tend to feature more monotonous tasks that I actually find to be like really relaxing to read or play, like for example in a cozy game. Like it was so nice to just see our main character like out in nature, collecting berries, collecting materials, learning, reading, and like it wasn't because there was this like doomsday where they were forced to do some training. Like don't get me wrong, there was a problem our main character was trying to solve, but sometimes that problem was like, I need to be able to grow food to eat. And it was just nice to see her work through those different things and also just like interact with nature. I loved the fantasy elements of this and the magical creatures that were ultimately a part of the story. It was just really cute and I would definitely recommend this if you like cozy fantasy and want something that has a little bit of a lower spice romance at the core. This is definitely going to entertain you and deliver, in my opinion. Obviously, next up on the docket, we've got Amari and the Despicable Wonders by B.B. Alston, a third book to currently one of my favorite middle grade series that is currently being published. I've been waiting over a year for this book to come out, so I'm so pumped to finally have it in my hands. And once it arrived in the mail, I knew it was going to disrupt my TBR completely, so hence why I'm including it within this video. But that's the plan for later in the day. I have to do some stuff before I can do more reading, but once I do end up picking this book up, I will let you know. And I also think I'm going to be able to read this book because it's going to be like charming friendship, but also lots of action and adventure. It's been a minute since I've read middle grade 2 and I love it. I adore it so very much. So there's that. One book down, Spellshop, 370 pages read. Amazing. And now we're moving on to book 2. Chef's special today is a chicken finger salad. So bon appetit and enjoy, everyone. Hi, I've rushed through all the things I need to do today. So we're back reading, baby. I've got my pumpkin mug, tea mug, and we're going with some British breakfast tea. A little more caffeinated than I've been having in the afternoons recently, but it feels needed today. So we're going to do this to pair alongside this. You're not gonna believe what I've got. A baggie of Tim Tams. I don't know why, I just have 3 left, but I was looking in my pantry for something unrelated and I found these and I was like, wow, today is gonna be a great day. So I'm gonna also enjoy my Tim Tams, maybe do a little dunking. Incredible stuff. Reading sprint with Matilda. Even though all she wants is dinner, even though it's not dinner time yet. Alrighty, reading update number 1 for Amari and the Despicable Wonders. I've already read 100 pages of this book. It is just as engaging and just as fast-paced as I was hoping. It also lines up with the predecessors in this series. If you love whimsical, fun, fast-paced fantasy middle grade, like this is the series for you. If you're not familiar, we're introduced to our main character, Amari, and at the beginning of book 1, Amari has never stopped believing that her older brother Quentin is still alive, despite what everyone around her tries to tell her. So when she finds this like ticking briefcase in his closet, giving her an invitation to something called the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, she doesn't question it, she just does it because she feels like it's part of the journey of figuring out what happened to her brother Quentin. From there, she's told that the supernatural is real. Magicians exist, people with magic, but beyond magicians, there are all different types of supernatural creatures, from the Yeti to ghosts to vampires to werewolves, and all of them are living alongside regular humans on a daily basis. And there is this bureaucracy called the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, and their job is to basically regulate what's going on within the magical community, train young magicians and supernatural folk to use their powers properly, and then you also kind of go into employment and work a variety of jobs within the magical community once you become older. And they also manage the relationships between supernatural creatures and humans and help prevent humans from knowing that the supernatural exists. So it's this kind of interesting mix of like magic school, but also government, but also like desk jobs, also like spy CIA situation. It has a really broad reach in terms of the types of jobs and things people do within this borough, which makes it so interesting. At the beginning of book 1, Amari's main concern and question is what happened to her brother. When she gets at school, she realizes that her brother was no ordinary magical individual. He was actually one of the top agents at this Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. He went to school here, graduated, and has been working here as a young adult. But him and his partner, who are both famous, have gone missing. And they believe it has to do with this like evil figure who's been in the magical community for a long time, who's been kind of trying to force the hand of the Bureau to let magicians have more power, you know, in spite of other magical individuals and like the non-magical communities, if you will. And so begins so many different things. We watch Amari as she trains to become an agent. So she's sort of in school, learning how to use her powers, but also trying to rank highly so that when she graduates, she can be an agent just like her brother, in hopes of also gaining access to information to help her brother. Obviously, while she's in school and training, she begins to make friends and enemies. Amari, as a young girl who comes from a non-magical family, she's also kind of a step behind from everyone else because they have been preparing for this schooling their entire life, so there's some complexities with that. Amari is also just like treated differently in general, but she does begin to make friends and she begins to sort of go about her day to day. Everything from there, though, begins to be derailed when larger magical mysteries become a part of this narrative story. I have enjoyed every book within this series so far. First off, Amari as a main character is so cute. She's so headstrong and brave. She roots the story so well. She's endearing and funny and charming and lovable, and just her tenacity and desire to take on forces that are seemingly so huge, from adults to people with evil powers to just like other people that want to do her ill. It's just so impressive to see. This series is also just so interesting from a world building point of view. I love the concept, this Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. I love that we're constantly running into so many different types of supernatural figures, monsters, figures within our own like folklore and like pop culture. It's really, 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 really fun. The story is super engaging and fast. There's always lots of mysteries and plot twists, but there is this overarching theme of like power, authority, and systemic issues that exist within the Bureau, and also like outside groups too. And I think that is really interesting. Instead of it being like the government versus like one evil agency, it's more pointing to flaws and things that exist between a whole bunch of different things. And again, young people taking on the mantle to try to overthrow this, make change, carve out a better path forward in the future for everyone. And it's just like a beautiful thing to see. Obviously, going into book 3, so much has happened, so many very intense things, and I'm very excited to see how Amari and her friends are going to take on the forces that they need to within this 3rd installment. The first 100 pages were so quick. It jumps into the action right away. Something about middle grade 2 I like is that I feel like it doesn't beat around the bush, you know? It's like, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, and it's just like a really digestible story that's still well thought out and put together, and I just love to read them. Anyway, I'm very much rambling now, but first 100 pages, so good. Definitely obviously gonna read more tonight. My goal is to almost finish this book tonight and then start Go to the Woods tomorrow ahead of my flight the next day. So we gotta keep productive. We gotta stay focused. Once again, time for another comfort dinner. I love my rice cooker. But Spam and rice. And I'm also making some gochujang zucchini as well. But we gotta get this Spam cooking. So I'm gonna slice this up to cook. I'm just gonna do plain Spam today because that's what I'm craving, because I love Spam. But like a little teriyaki, a little Japanese barbecue would be delicious too. Spam, spam, spam. And I'm about to cook off my zucchini. And dinner is served. A little bit of a readathon break. Current favorite show, Only Murders in the Building. So good. Hello. I am done watching Only Murders in the Building. And I'm now going to read as much as I possibly can right now in bed. As we've already established, I've read 100 pages. I'm really liking this book. There has been some really fun supernatural cameos in particular so far. Like, they're just so clever and creative. I also really love how much family is centered within this series. Parental love, sibling love, like all of those things. It's just really nice to see. As well as found family components. It's got a lot to offer, but we're gonna read more now. I'm sleepy. But look at this, folks. Wow, she's read 200 whole pages, and I only got distracted by TikTok a little bit. The plotting of this series is so quick, which makes it really hard to put down. I do wish there's maybe a titch more development between concepts, but that's really just kind of like minor, because I'm so curious to see how things are going to unfold. And I feel like now that we're in the third book, like more things are I feel like more of the plot is beginning to reveal itself in terms of the different avenues that the author wants to take the overall story in. I'm not sure how long this series is going to be, but my guess is at least 5 books. And you know, I just love a middle grade series with the healthy dose of skepticism towards authority. Like, yeah, let's raise little revolutionaries. Anyway, I'm gonna go brush my teeth, do my skincare, read more, and then go to bed. I'm getting really tired. I will not lie to you, but I should be able to finish this book tomorrow, no problem. And then I'll go into the God of the Woods before the end of my readathon. So there you go. Good morning. Ignore all the dishes. I am gonna sit down right now and finish Amari and the Night Brothers. Make a bit of a later start this morning than typical. 1, because I was on my phone, but 2, I ended up actually getting like a second wind last night and stayed up like past midnight, which is quite late for me, okay, for context. And now I have like 40 pages left of this book, so I'm gonna finish it super zippy quick this morning. Then I'm gonna pivot on to God of the Woods and see how far I can get into that book before I have to end the vlog. I have like 5 or so hours left, so I definitely still have a time to make a dent, and I'm starting the God of the Woods today. It's happening. I just gotta read this last 40 pages, then we're quickly moving on. I went to one of our favorite bakeries in Austin called Upper Crust and picked up, I know Millie looks delicious, picked up some pastry, so I'm enjoying a little cinnamon roll this morning. Not for you, Millie. It's me. Let's do a reading update from this morning. So, first and foremost, I finished Amari and the Despicable Wonders, which was like 385 pages, I want to say. 389 pages, and then obviously I read 375 pages yesterday. Math. So I've read, let's say, approximately 750 pages. Not bad. Overall, I thought this book was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to see where this series is going to take us next. I feel like this book was pretty consistent with the rest of the series. A great balance of friendship, magic, lessons learned along the way, love, heart, kids putting themselves out on a limb to help people. I will say this had a little more emotional weight, like extra emotional weight, a little bit darker in terms of consequences than perhaps some of the other books, but it was really good. Obviously, I read it in 24 hours. It really kept me engaged. And honestly, if you love middle grade, this is such a great middle grade series to check out. From there, as promised, I started the God of the Woods. Yes, and I'm so happy I finally did, because I've read the first 60 pages of this and I am hooked. Oh my gosh, the perfect balance between literary fiction, thriller. Because like, I love thrillers in terms of how they can be very engaging, but sometimes I want maybe like a little more oomph from a thriller, and I feel like this might deliver just that, because the character work, the different perspectives we've had just within the first 60 pages has me on the edge of my seat. So this book is set in a summer camp in 1975. The very first chapter opens with the realization that one of the young campers has gone missing, and this camper is not just anyone. Her name is Barbara, and she's actually a part of the super rich family that owns this summer camp. And to make matters even more dramatic, her own brother went missing like 10 years prior to the start of this novel. This book structurally is told through a bunch of different points of views. We're reading from the mother, we're reading from Barbara's point of view, this missing child, we're reading from other campers who are living alongside her during this time period, other counselors, just like a bunch of different people at the camp, in the community surrounding the camp. And we're reading these perspectives in present day as this search is happening, trying to find what happened to Barbara, and then starting 2 months prior to the events that took place. And I'm assuming that 2 months prior will keep culminating until the very event itself. So we have these 2 different timelines going on, all these perspectives. We're immediately rooted in all these different characters' interests and desires, and it also allows us to sort of consume this mystery from so many different angles, especially as we begin to take into consideration all the different emotions and stakes that are at play here. It also creates a scenario of like caring, but also not really knowing who to trust. Obviously, we don't know what happened. It had such an engaging start. Like, this book was off to the races immediately. Like, page 2, you're like, what happened? And the author sort of shifting around to all of these different places. Amazing. I should have known. I really like Liz Moore's writing. I read another book by her, The Unseen World, which also had this great combination of literary fiction and mystery. Her character work in particular is just amazing. She creates such complicated, nuanced characters that have such a depth to them, and they're very imperfect. But yet you still feel deeply connected to them quickly, at least some. And I feel like that's really gonna shine in this, because I feel like we're gonna be reading from lots of characters, but I feel like she does such a great job establishing these characters, but not in like, oh, they're flimsy, kind of a stereotype filling in for their expected role within the book, like rich mother who's disconnected from her children, like this type of thing. You get a sense of who they are and how they're gonna slot into the story, but that doesn't make them feel like they're flimsy, you know? Anyway, I'm rambling. 60 pages in, loving this. Honestly, this 48-hour readathon has been very successful so far. I've read so many engaging books that are also so different from each other. I'm definitely planning to read more of this before I end this vlog. And as I said, this is gonna be my airplane book. And I feel like I struck gold with this as an airplane book, because I'm already like, I wanna keep reading. I wanna keep reading. So there we go. That's a reading update. And I'm now going to get dressed. I've gotten dressed, as you can see, and I think I'm gonna have a sneaky cup of afternoon coffee to sit down and read more The Gone in the Woods. I'm hoping to get past the 100 page mark before I inevitably run out of time. So wish me luck. Let's go sit down now and read. I'm flushed. The clock has expired on my 48-hour readathon, and I'm happy to report I've read almost 900 pages in 48 hours, which is definitely ahead of the curve for me personally. I know there are others that can do this like clockwork. This is a piece of cake, but for me to be able to focus for 2 days and read 900 pages is definitely a lot. Let's start with The God of the Woods, because I was able to get to page 120. Such the perfect like summer to fall thriller with like really beautiful, interesting writing, complex characters. The summer camp setting is so good. I also love how the community kind of filters into this story too. Obviously, this is a book of privilege. This is a book of childhood, coming of age. This is a book of rebellion. Like, there's so many different factors and elements to this story that just makes it such a riveting read, obviously anchored by Liz Moore's wonderful prose. She just really knows how to like pull you in and keep you enthralled immediately, and that is definitely the case with this book. I feel like I'm gonna have no problem finishing this on the plane tomorrow. In fact, I'm looking forward to reading this book. I also was of course able to read the entirety of Amari and the Despicable Wonder. Obviously, it's well known that I am a lover of middle grade fantasy. It just acts as such a great palate cleanser to maybe some more intense reads, but I also just find the plots and the characters and a lot of the themes and tropes that exist within middle grade fantasy to just be so endearing. It's the same reason that I still love to watch a Pixar film. Like, they can be riveting and intense and keep you on the edge of your seat, but the messaging and ultimately like the hope that it also tends to capture is just delightful. I love middle grade. I've loved it since I was a child. I love it now. It's such a fantastic genre. And then I also read The Spellshop, a very hyped, cozy fantasy novel that came out recently, and I can see and understand the hype because this book was inviting, it was charming, it was calming, it had so many cute hobbies, great character interactions, elements of humor, romance, small town setting. It made me want to pack my bags up and escape to wherever our main character was at because it just seemed delightful, you know? But there we go, friends. That is the end of my cozy 48-hour readathon vlog. I'm so pleased with everything I was able to read over the course of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.